while ago now, we're talking like a few months back, before I got sad and I got ill and I had to take a break from YouTube and kind of get my mental health and myself back in a good place and sort my life out. I was doing a series of videos reviewing an absolute mess of a book by Kent Hovind. You know, this guy. The book was basically about how science textbooks are brainwashing our kids because they don't talk about dragons and mythology, and instead they use real science. Yeah. I criticised Kent quite a lot for this book, and guess what we're going to be doing again today? So, since I'm in a much better place now, I'm in a really great place in my life, I'm very happy, things are going pretty well for me. I mean, obviously not perfect. Life's never perfect, I'm not going to pretend it is. Money's still a struggle, sometimes I still have bad days, but mostly I'm good. That's the point I'm trying to get at. But I figured, now I'm in this really good place again, it would be a great time to pick back up on this series, crack out the old debunking goggles, and I thought we would finish up reading and debunking this book together. As a recap, Kent Hovind thinks science textbooks are brainwashing kids because evolution isn't real. The Earth is totally only like 6,000 years old or whatever. There are lies everywhere. And why are people teaching them? Because, they're like dumb or something. And demons, they come into it too. If you do want to go and see the actual lies that Kent thinks textbooks are teaching our children, then please go and watch the other videos in this series. The first videos 1 to 5 go through the lies. Video number 6 looks at why Kent thinks textbooks are lying, and today we're moving on to the part where we find out what parents can do to protect their precious little babas from Satan's classroom. So let's jump straight in. Kent writes, regardless of the reason, the fact is there are things in textbooks, classrooms, museums, and science centres across the world that simply are not correct. Whether they are taught deliberately or innocently, teaching those lies is going to brainwash students into believing something that is not true. I swear, the level of hypocrisy and cognitive dissonance, and even just irony here, is off the charts. And this, kids, is why we need editors. That's why there are some standards to get a book published, and we don't just self-publish toilet paper like this. So the obvious question is, what should we do about it? The solution is quite simple. Isolate, insulate, or initiate. Oh, I love a good bit of alliteration. It's the poet lover in me coming out here. Ooh, poetry analysis on Kent Hovind. No, too far. A little bit awkward here, but the thing is, isolate, insulate, initiate, aren't they the same 3 steps paedophiles use when grooming kids? A little bit awkward, Kent. I don't know, we should check in with Onision, he'll know. So, isolate your kids. But how? Kent writes, get your children out of the public schools if possible. Oh god, of course, because you can't indoctrinate them if there's a risk of them learning something from independent sources, you know? And if those independent sources of information actually have your children's best interests at heart and they're not just trying to push an agenda, you've even less chance of indoctrination. That's right, get them out of public schools so you can brainwash them early. If you really want to make sure that you're pushing your narrative and making sure no one else can influence your child, obviously isolation is important, you know? You can't tell them that there are other views that other people have. You can't tell them there are other options. You can't tell them that belief is a thing they have some kind of choice over. You can't let them know that they can question things, and you simply cannot let them think for themselves. That leads to skeptics. I know, dirty word. If you cannot get them into a private school, Christian school, or homeschool, then insulate them. Well, this doesn't sound healthy at all. No, turn back on, please. I wasn't done with you. Damn laptop battery is so dead. Pretty sure this is the laptop I bought when I first went to uni, so 8, nearly 9 years ago. It's doing well, I'm quite proud of it, you know? But the battery's completely dead now, and sometimes it just turns off on me. 75% of all children raised in Christian homes who attend public schools will reject the Christian faith by their first year of college. Now, I couldn't find a source for this number. I looked, I struggled, so I'm a little dubious. Let's just say I don't trust Kent Hovind's integrity. But isn't it strange? It's almost like there's a link between how educated someone is and whether they believe in God. No, that can't be possible, can it? No, I kind of joke, but the patterns and correlations and possible causal links aren't quite as clear-cut as Kent makes out, to be honest, especially outside of America. But the thing is, when we do see patterns like this, surely we should be asking why, and not just, oh my god, get them out of there, you know? If it is the case, why is it that education leads to atheists? The thing is, if this is the case and Kent is correct, I would argue that it's because as people are better educated and learn to think for themselves, they start to want to look for their own evidence for things, including their own beliefs, including whether they believe in a god or not, whether they see proof of a god existing or not. People stop just blindly accepting whatever they're told by people that they perceive to be authority figures. They want to look for these answers themselves as they become more and more educated. It has nothing to do with students being brainwashed and everything to do with students learning to think critically. And once they do that, once they have those skills, often they'll find that the supposed evidence for a god or gods just doesn't stand up to that level of scrutiny. I mean, I'm not in any way saying that, like, all smart people are atheists, and if you believe in a god, you're not smart. That is not what I'm saying at all. Some of the smartest people I know are theists. I would argue that one of the most intelligent, well-spoken, and just all-around wonderful people I know is actually a polytheist. And I don't see any kind of necessarily causal link between his intelligence and his belief. They're just parts of who he is. I don't know. I'm not going to name him because I don't want him to get a big head, but on a completely unrelated note, if you haven't gone and told Ocean that he sucks this month, please go do that now. Just go, pop over to his channel, watch one of his videos, 2 of his videos, or watch all of his videos, and just leave a little comment like, Ocean, you suck. Heart. Like I say, I'm also a little wary of Kent's source for this little statistic, because for once it was actually referenced. He doesn't often reference these claims that he makes, but this one was. And it linked to this video. And the people who made the video are also the people responsible for such quality content as Harry Potter, witchcraft repackaged, making evil look innocent. And of course the classic gay rights / special rights inside the homosexual agenda. The little film that Kent is referencing is called Let My Children Go, and it's interesting. Now, I didn't watch the whole 45-minute thing because I am not spending $10 to put myself through this hell, because 1, I have rent to pay, 2, I have bills to pay, and 3, I watched the trailer and I don't think I could. I'm not that strong. Look at this.
Let My Children Go, a compelling new video from Jeremiah Films, takes you on a disturbing journey through America's public school system. Many parents are growing increasingly fearful of the physical, moral, and spiritual dangers that await their children inside many of today's schools. Can anything be done to reverse this unsettling trend? Find out in Let My Children Go.
Absolute mess. So he goes on to talk about this next step, insulation. Would you send your children into any hostile environment like the moon, a battlefield, or the bottom of an ocean without proper protection? To send them to the bottom of the ocean without properly working equipment like a submarine or scuba gear would be murder. Be sure they are properly trained and equipped to handle the errors they are sure to face in the public school system. You can send a letter to the teacher stating that it is against your religion to have your student taught evolution. Sample letters are found in Appendix A. The school is required to provide alternative material. Yeah, the school sucks. Look, this isn't just you saying I'm, expressing my right to religious freedom or whatever. This isn't you saying, hey, we're religious, so I'd rather my kid didn't eat X at your school. This isn't you saying, hey, we're religion A, so I'd appreciate if my child had a place to pray during this and this time of day. They're, basic things that everyone should be allowed to have and ask for, and that's perfectly reasonable. Saying, hey, we're religion Z, and therefore I don't want you teaching my child objective science, I'd rather you lie to them, that doesn't sit right with me. And I know Kent doesn't see it as lying, but it is. I don't want you educating my child properly because I'm scared they'll think something different to me. Call me harsh, but that's not religious preference. That's bad parenting. I don't get it. Surely parents want the best education possible for their kids. Whether that means they grow up to think exactly the same as you or not shouldn't matter. The fact that they're getting a good education and being educated with objective fact, surely that's what's important. Providing them with the tools early on to make up their own mind about things. That's what raising children should be about, not forcing your ideas onto these people younger than you because you can. I guess I've just never understood people who want to shelter their kids to such a drastic level. I mean, surely part of being a parent is teaching them how to have good judgment and think for themselves, right? I mean, if you're sat there saying, I will not have my child exposed to alternative perspectives in case they believe them, then either, I don't know, you can't think your own position is all that strong or compelling, or you're admitting that you're possibly a crappy parent who didn't teach their kid to think for themselves. I don't know. Kent's next option is to initiate. Take the initiative and make a change. You can require that lies not be taught in school at your expense. Most states have laws requiring textbooks to be accurate. Some are listed below, which is why Kent's books are not taught in public schools. Simply demand that errors be taken out of the textbooks. We are not recommending that anyone try and get evolution out of the school or get creation into schools. If someone has evidence for a theory, that's wonderful. Show it to us. We are not against science or theories, we are simply against lies. Mate, this is what I did in the first 5 or so parts of this series, and you just bury your head in the sand, or you simply don't understand, I don't know. I'm literally here saying, here's the evidence for evolution. Look at it. And you're like, sorry, did you say something? Don't pretend to be all reasonable now and all like, ooh, if you show me the evidence. No, you wouldn't recognise evidence if it came and kicked you up the bum. I recommend students or parents try to confront their teacher privately, if possible. After class, speak to the teacher and say something to this effect. Do you realise there is a mistake in our textbook? Then try to get the teacher to cross it out and remove it from the text. And hopefully the teacher will laugh you out of the school. If you can't get any change at this level, the student and or parent of the student still have several other responsibilities. I think it is our responsibility to be sure other students in the class are not brainwashed into believing something that is not true. You may want to pass out booklets, such as this one, to fellow class members. If a question comes up on your test that requires an answer that you know to be wrong, you can always answer, the textbook says this. However, this is not correct. Yeah, don't do this. Please don't do this. Oh, I'm past trying to be witty or smart with this now. Just don't do this, please. And then just before his conclusion, oh my god, my laptop again. But just before the conclusion, he has this list of quotes, just while this is turning back on, about evolution, and they're quotes from real scientists talking about evolution. I don't know why I'm doing this voice, I'm sorry, I just kind of giddy today. I haven't even had any sugar or caffeine or Here we go. So he has this whole section of apparently helpful quotes about evolution. I don't really see the point, to be honest. I think if Kent was a better writer, a better author, a better communicator, better, I don't know, thinker, he would probably have incorporated these into the rest of the book, maybe critically analysed them or discussed them in some way, but instead he just kind of plops them down on this one of the last pages of the book, bloop, just bam, suck on that, evolutionists. This person said a mean thing, and this person asserted bad science, and what you think of that, It's totally my Kent Hovind voice now. That's what he sounds like, isn't it? I mean, he literally says, there are many thousands of scientists who do not believe in evolution. Here are quotes from just a few of them. But looking at his list of sources, the term scientist is used quite loosely. I'm also a little confused that he doesn't mention where or when or in what context a lot of these things were said. He's definitely cherry picking, and the few legit scientists he does use, he has taken them out of context. Please, please don't die on me again, laptop, not at this point. So take the first quote, for example. Evolution is not a fact. Evolution doesn't even qualify as a theory or a hypothesis. It is a metaphysical research program and is not really testable science. And his reference simply reads, Dr. Karl Popper, leading philosopher of science. Did no one teach this man to reference properly at his dodgy Christian universities / huts? But it does seem there is a good reason that Kent didn't reference this quote properly, because when you look at it in context, it all falls apart. He even misquotes. This isn't the proper quote. There's a great little article, which I will link down in my sources below. There's a source and further reading list on all these kinds of videos. and it goes into detail about what Karl Popper actually said about evolution, including these parts. So in 1957 he wrote, "I see in modern Darwinism the most successful explanation of the relevant facts," so it's clear he wasn't anti-evolution by any means. In 1963 he said, "There exists no law of evolution, only the historical fact that plants and animals change, or more precisely, that they have changed." And in 1967 he said, "I've always been extremely interested in the theory of evolution and very ready to accept evolution as a fact." The article even acknowledges the flaws in Popper's writing on the subject. For example, it says, "But he did make one mistake, for which we should forgive him. Some well-known biologists who should have known better have made the same mistake. Popper takes survival of the fittest as the definition of natural selection," which obviously is not the same thing, very different. And we see that, like I mentioned earlier, Kent in fact misquoted Popper. He got what he said wrong. Not only was he misrepresenting him, he was mixing up his words. The actual quote from Popper, or quotes, "I have come to the conclusion that Darwinism is not a testable scientific theory, but a metaphysical research program, a possible framework for testable scientific theories, and because I intend to argue that the theory of natural selection is not a testable scientific theory, but a metaphysical research program." And the article also points out that Popper later admitted he was wrong. So while he said this once, it's not something he stands by. And this is something that Kent fails to mention. The article is very interesting. I thoroughly recommend reading it. Like I say, it's linked down in the description below. Go enjoy yourself. It's good. There's a few other quotes I had problems with. For example, all of them. No joke. But seriously, to point out a few. There's this one by Ruse, I'm not sure how you say his name, that says, "Evolution is promoted by its practitioners as more than mere science. Evolution is promulgated as an ideology, a secular religion, a full-fledged alternative to Christianity, with meaning and morality. I am an ardent evolutionist and an ex-Christian, but I must admit that in this one complaint, Mr. Gish is but one of many to make it. The literalists are absolutely right. Evolution is a religion. This was true of evolution in the beginning, and it is still true of evolution today." So, yes, I have issues with this content. It is not something I agree with. I do not think of evolution as a religion. But before I even touch on that, I decided to try and figure out what the context was in which this was said. Now, Kent's reference points to some reprinting on a dodgy website and not the original source. However, I did a little bit more searching, did a little bit of the Googling, and I found a HuffPost article by Michael Ruse himself about this quote. I couldn't find the original text online anywhere that this was from, but Ruse wrote for this HuffPost article, "I think this paragraph, the introduction to a book review for which I was never paid, in a Canadian newspaper some 10 or so years ago, has received more attention and more repetition, especially on the internet, than anything else I have ever written. No matter that I qualified it then and have qualified it before and ever since." Ruse recants, "Evolution is a religion, read all about it." Or more accurately, don't read all about it, because then you might find that it is not quite all I had to say. He goes on, "Is evolution, Darwinian evolution in particular, a religion? To sound like the philosopher I am, it all depends on what you mean by religion. I don't think that believing in Charles Darwin's theory of evolution through natural selection, his version or today's version, commits you to religious belief. I think that if, as myself would, you extend the scope of the theory to an understanding of knowledge acquisition and justification, and the same for morality, evolutionary epistemology and evolutionary ethics, then it can act as a religion substitute or alternative." Can act, not is. He's saying it's down to the individual. From what I could gather, he seems critical of certain new atheists, for example Dawkins, for taking quite a almost religious approach to pushing evolution and certain bits of science. And honestly, that's a criticism I've had of Dawkins in the past as well. I do find his writing on religion a little difficult to read, because, yeah, it feels a little pushy, a little arrogant, a little bit religious. I much prefer his writings on like actual biology and science. I think he's much better at that. Anyway, not the point. And the article, like I say, is a very interesting read. I thoroughly recommend it. Again, it's linked below. But what I find funny is that it ends by asking people not to do exactly what Kent did in his book. Ruse writes, so the answer to the question, is Darwinism a religion, is varied, interesting, and insightful. But I bet $1 million that for the next 10 years, it will be the first paragraph, and only the first paragraph of this piece that will be quoted and requoted by those who are more interested in using my words for their own ends rather than for understanding what I'm really trying to say. Kent, that's you taking this quote out of context to push your own agenda instead of listening to what the man actually said. These two quotes alone here are examples of how willing Kent is to be incredibly dishonest. He cherry picks quotes where it suits him, even without considering the context, always without considering the context. Kent Hovind is the only person here that is spreading propaganda, that is attempting to brainwash people, who is lying, being dishonest, and spreading misinformation. It's not science textbooks, it's Kent. And then he ends his book with this short conclusion, which basically sums up everything he got wrong in the book, which we've already covered in the past 6 videos in this series. I don't want to go into the appendices too much because they're kind of boring, so I'm just gonna end by talking about this conclusion here. What if evolution is not true? Evidence to support this theory has been proven wrong some years ago. What if the whole theory is part of a major brainwashing program designed to get students to doubt the only other alternative, which is that there was a creator for this complex universe? Yeah, no, this just sounds kind of crazy and paranoid. I mean, are you feeling okay, Kent? There's not some big conspiracy here, I promise you, there's just not. God created the world in 6 literal days around 6,000 years ago. This world was destroyed by a worldwide flood 4,400 years ago, leaving behind huge deposits of rotting debris which turned to coal, oil, natural gas, deep in the ground, as well as billions of fossils all over the world, huge erosion marks called canyons as the flood water receded. No, we've already debunked this. That's not what happened. Just because you say, this is what happened at the beginning of it, doesn't mean it happened. Dinosaurs always... sorry. This is the bit that makes me laugh. Dinosaurs always lived with man. They were called dragons for most of human history, and man killed most of them. There may be a few still alive today, which is why there are so many stories of sightings of Loch Ness monster-type creatures. How the hell did this get published? Who the hell reads this and still takes Kent Hovind seriously? Oh my god. I actually, I was out with this guy the other night, and we ended up talking about Kent Hovind, because what else do you talk about over cocktails? And then I ended up telling him about this book I'm reading, which is The Natural History of Dragons. It's, oh my god, it's amazing. One of you guys sent me, like, the full collection of books. Oh, I'm only on the first one so far, I've nearly finished it, and I love it, it is amazing. And I jokingly, like, I texted him, I was like, oh, by the way, you remind me of, like, the husband character in it. And he was like, does that mean you're trying to propose to me? And I was like, no, but you can take me to go and see dragons. And it was like this ongoing joke. And then he goes, I mean, dragons sound way more fun, to be fair. And unlike marriage, if we change our minds about the dragons, we don't need to divide up everything we own. You might also want to tell Ken he can... I can't even say this for laughing. You might want to tell Ken he can also change his mind about dragons if he so wishes. It just made me giggle so much, I had to share this with you. Amazing. It's not often I find someone else in real life who I can mock Kent Hovind with. So, you know what, I actually really appreciate him, so I'm going to give him a little shout out. His name is Jack Galloway. He is a musician and producer. His first kind of big single is out on YouTube now, so if you want to go check out his music video, you can do. He's got another one coming out in February. All around great guy. And, yeah, gotta appreciate someone who mocks Kent Hovind with me. Anyway, that is where we are going to end this today. I just wanted to kind of get this book review like done and out the way, finish this final section, and just kind of like end this series. All I have left to do is respond to Kent's responses to me. And I warn you, there are literally hours worth of videos. It's almost like I really got under his skin or something, I don't know. So obviously I'm not going to have the time or the energy or, you know, the patience to respond to every single thing he says, because I think a lot of it is just him mocking me for, like, my hair, my clothes, my makeup, being a girl. You know, the usual stuff that you mock when you don't have any other arguments. So I don't think I'll need to respond to everything. The clips I have seen so far, there's just a lot of rambling in there, and I think it's going to be quite painful to watch. I don't know why I'm putting myself through it for you guys, but apparently I love you guys. This is what I do. But yeah, that's where I'm going to end this video for today. Please let me know down in the comments, where is the worst case you've ever seen of someone taking a quote out of context and using it to push their own agenda? Whether this is a creationist or anyone else, maybe it's a celebrity, maybe it's one of your friends, maybe you're a teacher and it's like a quote you read in a pupil's paper. I'd be really, really interested. What is the worst case of someone taking a quote out of context and using it in the wrong way that you've ever seen? Go support Jack, give him a little bit of love, tell him how great his music is. Tell him that I sent you and that he should believe in dragons a little bit more, okay? Open his mind. But in all seriousness, great guy, go give him some support. Thank you for watching this video today. If you do want to help support me and my channel and help me keep making these videos, I do have Patreon, I do have a PayPal link, I have a merch store you can go and buy lots of goodies in. I also have Instagram where you can go follow me and see pictures of Kyra, my doggy. Doggo? She's a doggo now. I'm rambling, but for now, thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you again very soon.